Welcome. The world is a bin fire. We know this. Gee, it seems to be getting fire-er, doesn't it? Shittier and, all of the things. Quite amazingly, this week, we've had people using their voices, in particularly their fingers, which I'm more than impressed with because, people using their fingers can be a really helpful thing. This particular time, it seems to be their thumbs mostly because after the Met Gala, which saw a lot of celebrities going, as they do every year, people not happy, not impressed this year. And the theme was some kind of a garden. Everyone really dressed up and looked a lot like the Hunger Games, the Capitol people from the Hunger Games. Like, it was so ironic that they literally looked like them. I mean, which they do every year because the Met Gala, it encourages you to go above and beyond and things you just wouldn't wear every day. But there was one girl, she said, let them eat cake. There was another girl wearing sand. There was all these things, okay? Well, some bright spark has put it out there that we should start blocking these people. Unfollowing? No. Blocking. Because that stops revenue. A lot of bright sparks have picked it up and started sharing it. And I, for one, couldn't be happier because that I share all the time about what's happening in Palestine. And a lot of people won't do it for fear that they will lose their livelihood, which is happening. For me personally, I get it. I really do. I have all my life, I've had this weird sense of justice. Like, I, as a kid, would, root for the underdog and, rescue dogs and do all the things and get the tadpoles out of the, just those silly little things that in hindsight, I realise now that I was a little faux crusader of my own, and really unbeknownst to me, I was just kind of, a feminist and anti-capitalism back then, always question things, always getting sent out of class for, saying the Bible just sounded ridiculous. And why aren't there female explorers? Were there? Why do women have to do that? All of these things. I was the type of person that loved Star Wars because of the resistance fighters. I loved all the underdog stories, And the same as Hunger Games, ironically enough, that they looked like the Capitol because Katniss Everdeen led the resistance. And fictional, of course, don't want to be occupied, don't want to be ruled. So it's playing out in real time now. We're seeing it. And the backlash, wow. Cancelling people is a really divisive thing. And I know that may happen to me one day. I could do something that pisses enough people off to have it happen to me. It could be my turn. I'm a white privileged woman and I may not recognize my privilege one day and make huge faux pas. I just hope I don't double down on it when I do, if I do. Anyway, people are speaking with their thumbs. The people are blocking. It's a hard thing to do. There's a list. Block list 2024, I think, is the hashtag. There's a list. And it's hard because I'm like, I don't know if I can block Adele. I don't know if I can block Zendaya. I don't know. Definitely we didn't have a problem blocking all the Kardashians and the Jenners and that was quite delightful. But I think everyone that went through the list had a very similar reaction to me. People I knew did. They were like, I don't think I can block Taylor Swift. I'm like, well, that one was easy for me. I'm not a Swiftie. So, it's up to you who you do and who you don't. But know that it's a way of using your voice. It's like voting. So, that's why it's so incredibly important to have your say about things. And if who you're following and who you look up to isn't inspiring you, and they aren't making you recognize, the injustices in this world, and they're just making you feel like you're so fat you need to put on a pair of Spanx, then, jump on board. It's a pretty good boat to be on. And yeah, people will disagree. I've had it. I've lost work. It's okay. It's okay. In the show notes today, I'm going to put a link to an episode of Sarah Wilson's pod, which is called Wild. Brilliant podcast. Love her. Australian woman who now lives in Paris, and she's like me, single, chooses to be child-free, chooses to be a little bit of an activist, much more than me. Very intelligent. She does amazing episodes, and they're mostly about climate change and, things of that nature. There is an episode that she does with a civilization collapse researcher and expert. Her name is Margaret Wheatley. So that's the episode I'm going to put in our show notes. If you will, please listen to it. It's long and it's dire. Unfortunately, what Margaret has to say is not great. Don't listen to it if you have children. Okay, that's all I'm saying. But I do want to talk about Australia right now is investing and continuing to sell gas offshore. This is gas. Instead of solar, which is where we should be going, and we have a target, an emissions target to hit by 2050. And this, at the moment, us still selling fossil fuels, is making sure that our target won't be hit. Just be aware of these kind of things that are happening in our own backyard right now. 80% of the experts on climate change have said that the warming is happening. 2 years ago, the Australian Academy of Science published a report looking at the consequences of what half of the world's scientists are now think we're heading for, okay? So we're headed for major societal disruption within the next 5 years. So this is kind of pressure we could start just putting on our own government right now. This is just a little call out to you guys listening. Talk to your friends and family as well. It's not a hard thing to send an email to Albo. Chris Bowen is our Minister for Climate Change and Energy for Australia, so we can send him an email. We'll put that in the show notes as well. Just click on it and say, hey, why are you selling gas overseas? If WA was a country, it would be the world's third largest exporter of natural gas. Okay, but according to the Australian Institute, the royalties paid by that gas industry to the WA government is just 1.5% of the government's revenue. Okay, motor vehicle registration contributes almost twice as much. And our voices matter. Our fingers matter. I'm a renter, as you know, and I know that gas is costing us a lot of money per household. So it's not helping us. I asked my landlord, would you like to replace my gas stove with an electric stove? And he said yes immediately because my house is on solar. So it's even cheaper for him. He outlaid that money. Ask your landlord if that's something that they would like to do, put, solar panels on. Cost of living, it's dire, isn't it? And there's little things that we can do, but it doesn't hurt to send an email to Chris Bowen. It doesn't hurt to send an email to our government. So go and listen to Wild by Sarah Wilson. Hug the people close to you. Don't worry about the small things anymore either. Don't worry about people that are tailgating you or someone that just cut you off. You don't know what they're going through. They don't know what you're going through. There's a really good mantra called let them. It's a good thing to say to yourself when you are in a little bit of a rage and someone's doing something to you that makes you really unhappy. Let them. Don't let yourself be stressed out by these things because there are bigger things for you to take care of in yourself. You need to be kind to yourself, be kind to the people around you, and hold those in power accountable. Ever heard of riding shotgun? There's a song, isn't it? I've been riding shotgun underneath the hot sun. Oh, it's super dirty, or feet up it. George Ezra, God, deepest voice around. Okay, or calling shotgun. It's used to claim the right to the front seat of the car, like the passenger seat. This expression refers to the passenger of an old-fashioned stagecoach who sat next to the driver with what? A shotgun to protect them from attackers and robbers along the way. There is no evidence to suggest the expression was actually used in times of the Wild West, but most likely came about much later on when media and films began to romanticize the feeling. Can I also just say shotgun wedding is another one. Shotgun wedding means you're pregnant. So I'll look up that one for you next time. Anyway, here's Wonderful.
Today was gonna be the day that they're gonna throw it back to you. By now you should have somehow realized what you got to do.
I couldn't help myself.